say something. I want to say a lot actually about this game, but I don't know where to start from. Lord knows, even though I am a recently converted heathen, I love this game. I love the studio and what they have produced, but most of what I have to say is negative. Sorry, my lord, but reflecting back on my experience, I don't think I will be going back anytime soon. Forgive me, Lord, for what I'm about to say is a grave sin. The game is bad. FromSoft has given the Souls formula a new coat of paint each time they bring it out to the public. First it was between Demon Souls and Dark Souls, polishing the game a little bit to make it more presentable to wider audience, even though that audience was not that wide, but it was more than the people that played Demon Souls. Then it was leaning a bit more to the action side of action RPG, which is what Souls games are if you still do not know. Then they went back to Dark Souls, but this time they tweaked it so it appeals more to the new fanbase that Dark Souls 1 have accumulated. It was followed then by Sekiro, where they went back again and they pushed forward with that action side, making it more of an anime action game with all of that action going at the same time, forcing you to go in on the enemy with all of that action. And then we come to Elden Ring. Elden Ring is a game that feels like it is stretched between FromSoft wanting to experiment like what they did before with Dark Souls, Bloodborne and Sekiro, but also appealing to the fan base that were dissatisfied with the move out from the formula, while at the same time trying to please the investors with all of the modern game design features that they put in the game, like the open world itself. FromSoft trying to achieve all of them end up with them achieving none of them, resulting in the game itself having no identity. The biggest problem that I have with the game is that it traded depth for width. What I mean by depth for width, they made the game a JRPG and they made the world like Breath of the Wild. I think Breath of the Wild is the best game that I have ever played, but still it have some problems that its sequel could have fixed, but it did not. Problems that people that claim that they are influenced by the game could have fixed, but they did not. This game itself is one of those games that did not fix the problems of Breath of the Wild. One major thing of Breath of the Wild that was complained about to hell and back was the fact that there were too many shrines. This game have a problem equivalent to it with the catacombs being too many of them and the caves being too many and repetitive, and all of them are the same. It is similar to the problem of the major strength tests. The second problem is the fact that you have something similar to the JRPGs, where basically the numbers don't add up, where you kill an enemy but you don't get rewarded the right amount for the effort that you put in to kill that enemy, and you kill another enemy, quote unquote, that is basically just a crippled old man in a corner just chilling, and you will get thousands more than what you did killing that skilled knight or assassin or whatever it is, an enemy that is both strong and have a lot of health. So it is hard to take down, but you will not be rewarded the same as killing a crippled dude. The other problem is that there are too many graces. I mean by that is that combining that there are too many shrines with the fact that the souls that you get rewarded don't synergize with each other. Because when you reach the mid game, you will kind of reach a halt in terms of your progression. You will not find strong enough enemies for you to progress, other than if you kill the bosses, then you will get enough runes to level up. And dying doesn't have no meaning, because what you have like 1,000 or 2,000 souls, but you need like 50,000 or 70,000 of them if you want to level up each one of your stats. So that loses its meaning. And even that run back to your grace or run back to where you lost your souls or runes is diminished. There is no meaning to that, because there are shit ton of graces all over the place, and probably where you died is just around the corner from where the new grace is or the previous one was. So the graces loses all of its effect. Now the other problem that stems from them leaning too much into the JRPG side of things, which is the numbers are too big. When you reach just the mid games, they are too big in terms of how much it takes you to level up, in terms of how much damage you deal versus how much damage you take, because the mid game is absurd by itself. but the end game is more than fucking insane, because your health might span the whole screen, but you will get one hit from a random dude around the corner. Again, it is the same crippled dude from earlier, and he might hit you and take more than half of your health. So that is just a problem of numbers that I don't know why the fuck they did not fix it. And there's the problem that stacks on top of all of this, which is the problem of builds themselves, because with some builds, the game is completely broken. And some people treat that as FromSoft giving you the choice to like choose your difficulty or some shit like that, where it is just a broken design. Because when you have big RPGs like this, you need to test each one of the builds and each one of the possible builds on top of all of those that you give the players as presets. The player might branch out to something that is a mixture between two of them. So all of these need to be tested as if they work with the games and the system that are set in place. They did not do that, because if you play with the magic build, you completely pacify any enemy, any boss, anything that comes nowhere near the vicinities of you will disintegrate. That is a problem. The other problem is with the arcane stat. If you invest into that, you can basically pacify any boss, any enemy you face. And that is again a problem in terms of how broken the game is. And that won't be a problem if it wasn't that FromSoft themselves designed the game around these things being a thing, that people will use magic and will use arcane, and that will make the bosses not just difficult but insanely impossible to beat, because they are optimized for these builds. If you want to go to them like a normal knight or a strength build or whatever, you will have a bad time. But a lot of people do not like to bring that up in terms of how unbalanced the game is. I'm not talking here about a lot of the technical problems that the game have, like you're stuck in collision or calculation of height being so messed up that a lot of times you will die from like a small dip. That all aside, just the problem of these numbers that I just mentioned is enough for me to not want to go back to the game for a long time. Another problem, which is like what you will be doing most of the time, is traversing this big, wide, vast world. This big, wide, vast world is insanely big. Too big, if I have to say, because most of what is good, the good content if you will, is what the community dubs as the legacy dungeons. Those are the best thing that you can ever experience in this game, because they are more like the classic way of designing for Dark Souls and Bloodborne. Anything between them is vapid content for two reasons. One, because there is nothing to do. Yes, there are some enemies, there are some over the world bosses, there are some camps that you can clear, but there is no tangible reward when you do so. It is again a problem that they picked up from Breath of the Wild, that you do something but there is no reward for it. They will give you a carrot or a banana for finishing like whatever it is that you did. The same thing happens here, except the reward here is not any item that you will be using in your combat or in your progression, but also it isn't enough runes for you to like get even just halfway into leveling up. So it makes the process of killing enemies on your way to some scenery, jaw-dropping scenery, it makes it useless. It makes useless the fact that you need to clear camps also. The additional problem on top of all of these is the horse itself. The horse is so useless. The horse is supposed to take you from point A to point B faster than it would be using just your foot. But it is so fucking slow. Even if you spam the dash button, it does not speed up. And that is a huge problem again, because the world is so big, unnecessarily big, and half of the content might be chopped and it will not change nothing. Literally, it will not change nothing. The world is just big for the sake of the show, and that is what I hate about the game, because it takes away that replayability. I know some people will love to replay the game and they just fall in love with it, like what I did once upon a time with Breath of the Wild. So what now? Where do we go from here? What is the next step for FromSoft? Honestly, I don't know. I don't have a clear idea on what their next step will be, but I have some speculations, and all of them are worrying, because if we're to judge the trajectory of the studio based on what they have released after Elden Ring, they only released the DLC, Armor Core, which was cool, and Night Rain, which isn't that promising. It is just a reskin of Fortnite. And the next game is also moving in the same direction, which is, I don't know, the Fortnite Battle Pass, I guess. I hope from the bottom of my heart that FromSoft doesn't turn into one of those studios that just makes a bunch of vapid games each year, just this time with the Souls formula attached to it. Because if they do, not only I'll be disappointed, but I don't think they will be doing that well. because if they got the wrong feedback from this game by making absurd bosses in bigger worlds, I don't think the next game will do well. As much as a lot of people would like to see an even more bigger world than this one has given us. But yeah, I don't think this formula is sustainable. Similar to what Ubisoft is suffering from, which is just making each sequel bigger than the one previous to it, and we see how that works out for them. Another thing is the Souls formula itself. I think they sucked it dry. I think they should move on from there and create something new, or just do like a quick reset and going back to something like what they did with Dark Souls 1, revitalize the game, something like Breath of the Wild did also, which is going back to the origins, quote unquote, because that open world and that freedom was not an answer to them wanting to go back to their origins, but more that they needed to catch up to the market. With the market at the time had open world being like the big thing, and with Elden Ring I think they came at the late tail of it. I don't think people will tolerate the open world any more than they have done, and I don't think FromSoft is capable of doing open world anymore. What they are well known of doing and what they do well is making linear games, single player games, not multiplayers, linear close corridors games rather than sprawling open world where nowhere to go, just running in an open field for about 15 minutes doing nothing. So I hope they learned from this game the right lessons, and the next one won't be this bad and unoptimized. So yeah, that was all I had. Let's have a civilized discussion about this in the comments. And yeah, thank you for listening, and have yourselves a damn good one.